And today I would like to talk with you a little bit about the CACAO security playbooks and what that is going to do for cybersecurity going forward. So the question is why do we need these playbooks? Why is this important? So we know that threat actors are advancing. We know that the number of attacks is increasing, and that the time available to respond is decreasing, and it's becoming harder and harder to respond at scale. Defense is classically very slow. It's very manual, very reactive, and there's a lot of disparate systems that are involved in classical response through mitigation, remediation, or even in prevention. Um, you also need a lot of different groups involved. Long ago you would have, a network engineering team that kind of did everything, or you had an IT group that did everything. Nowadays, you have a lot of different groups that maintain the security posture of the organization, and you need to coordinate between them. And so you have to do this response and this coordination, and there's really no easy way to share the threat response that needs to be done. So we have, STIX and TAXI to share the threat intelligence, but we don't currently have a way to share the mitigation remediation response that is needed. So when we look at this, this is a little diagram that we did to kind of help people see, the various bits and pieces that are involved. So you might have an attack that comes in. It may come in through, an Android exploit and begin to compromise the environment, and as it moves laterally through the organization. When you come to a traditional SOC and you try to go through and do the mitigation or remediation cleanup, there's a lot of different groups that have to be involved. So first you would have the mobile engineering team, then you might go over to desktop engineering team, and then the network physical engineering team, because the IP cameras were also compromised, going into the server engineering team and application engineering, traditional security and threat intelligence teams as they're doing analysis, up back again to the server and web engineering teams, and then all the way out to your internet and core teams as they begin to do the work on the cleanup. And there's a lot of bits and pieces that have to be shared, a lot of information that needs to be put together and to be correlated. So what we're trying to do in the CACAO TC, CACAO is very cleverly acronymed to be cacao as in chocolate. I like chocolate, but it's the Collaborative Automated Course of Action Operations for Cybersecurity. And this is a standard, a taxonomy and ontology for creating and distributing and monitoring playbooks. This allows organizations to document and describe the steps needed to prevent, mitigate, remediate, and monitor responses of threat actors and the attacks and the incidents that take place. And so we'll be building upon existing technologies and protocols and interfaces that already exist in the ecosystem to make this possible. So playbooks exist today, and they have existed ever since I was a network engineer of very large networks. But they were all documented using very manual methods. We typically wrote these down and put them in a binder on a shelf. Sometimes they would be put into a knowledge base article or put on a wiki, you'd go through and you would list out the things that you would need to do. And then when you needed to hand it off to another team, you'd have to manually tell them where you were at in the process and what they needed to do. And so the playbooks, the design that we're looking for is to orchestrate, IT at scale, orchestrate cybersecurity and physical security, and really help make cyber defense possible, and make it so that you can share this across tools, across organizations, across enclaves in your environment, so that cyber defense can work. So in a classical industrial response, you might have bits of the playbook that are created by different entities and signed by those organizations. Apple could produce some stuff, Microsoft might produce some stuff. Different enterprises and organizations and banks could potentially look at this combined playbook and sign it and say, yeah, we've tested it, we've verified it, and it could potentially go all the way up, say, like to the FSISAC, and they could say, we've tested all these things. This will solve the response for Fuzzy Panda, and by deploying this playbook, you will be able to mitigate it or remediate it. So this is the new work that we've started in OASIS. It is a technical committee for standardization. We are nearing completion of our first committee specification draft. So things are going along very well. We have a very large group, and if you're interested, I would encourage you to join and to participate. Thank you.